Welcome everybody to the BPAG meeting. I guess at this time we'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order.
With BPAG, we don't have to do the voting on calling the meeting to order, so we can go
Okay.
directly, I think, into roll call.
Okay.
So I'll start that with City of Annapolis, Anne Arundel County,
Hi, this is Daniel Allen with Anne Arundel County.
Baltimore City,
Hi, I'm John with Baltimore.
Baltimore County, Carroll County,
Hi, everybody. Ethan Strickler with Carroll County.
Harford County, Howard County, got Queen Anne's County,
Here, Steve Chandley.
MDE,
Emily Bull,
Maryland Department of Planning,
Brooks Phelps.
MHSO,
Hey everybody, Cynthia Spriggs.
MTA, MDOT-SHA,
Hi, Shane Server here for SHA.
MDOT-TSO,
Afternoon, everyone. Meg Young from MDOT-TSO.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
And I'm sorry, Charlene, did you say we need to do a vote for approval of minutes or pass on that?
We do vote for approval of the minutes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I'll ask for a motion and second for approval of the May minutes.
Hi.
Okay. Anybody second it?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Hi.
I guess silence is is acceptance. Anybody, any nays? All right. Well, with that, we'll just go ahead and move forward into our first presentation. Our first presenters will be Dr. Mancha Swami from Morgan State University and Mr. Shane Sarver, and they'll be talking about Maryland 195 Complete Streets study. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
You should be able to
Thank you.
take over the screen share for me. If not, let me know.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen and Shane will start with the presentation. Is it visible?
It's in the presenter side.
Okay. Now I think it's visible.
Yes, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all for having us. My name is Shane Sarver. I'm a bicycle and pedestrian planner at SHA, and with me is Dr. Mancha Swami from the National Transportation Center at Morgan State University. We are here to talk about a quick builds evaluation of a quick builds project on Maryland 195 using portable sensing technology. You can go to the next slide. So before we get into the details of the project, this was the project team. As you can see, a lot of people were involved in this. M.SHA, we were the sponsor and site authority. We selected the location and we oversee the quick build deployment program statewide with support from TSO. And Morgan State did the research for one location at Maryland 195, which we'll be getting into quite a lot of detail on that. Next slide. So what we'll be going over today I will take these first two, the problem and the idea and the site and the tool. Then I will turn it over to Mancha to go through what we found, the data, and conclusions from that. Next slide. So why does this matter? I think all of us on this call know that speed is a huge factor in fatalities for vulnerable road users. As you can see here, if you're hit by a car going 20 miles per hour, it's a 10% fatality risk. If you're hit by a car going 30 miles per hour, it's 40 to 50%. And it's not linear. This nice chart on the right side shows you there's a very steep risk zone. Next slide. So what is the quick build? Rapid, modular, low cost safety treatment. Not meant to last forever, but that doesn't mean it's meant to only be in for a few months. Some of these projects you see on the right could be in for years before a full project is brought in to harden the improvements. They're meant to be rapid, so days or weeks, not years. Modular, they can be removed and changed, made with bolts and paint and signs. Low cost, the project we'll be talking about later today costs less than $10,000. Testable, so real operating conditions. It's not being tested somewhere that in a lab or something like that. It's being tested in actual conditions, and reversible. So if it doesn't work, you can remove it, which we ended up doing with this project. This is not a Maryland thing or a United States thing. These projects are all over the world, very successful. New York, London, Barcelona. Every one of these projects was evaluated and tested and observed in the field. So in Maryland, we have for several years now done a quick build program. 2025 program is what we'll be talking about today. Targeted intersections and corridors with an urgent safety need, places that the community came to us and said that this is a concern, or places that we as an organization knew had concerns. We wanted to quickly implement solutions. On a previous slide, it's days or weeks, not years. We wanted to test products and solutions. In the case we'll be talking about, we tested modular speed cushions, and we wanted to provide useful data for statewide installations, not just for SHA, but also so that local governments can have this data if they want to install these types of projects. So we had 6 projects throughout the state. We'll be talking in more detail about Maryland 195 and Tacoma Park in Montgomery County. In 4 of these locations, we tested speed cushions. We'll go into quite a lot of detail about the Maryland 195 project, but in all of these locations, speed cushions were successful at slowing vehicles. Next slide. So we had really 2 goals with the Maryland 195 with all of these locations. We wanted to test out how resilient modular speed cushions were, including during winter weather. Just happened that this year we had the most severe winter weather in over a decade, so that was helpful in testing out how resilient they are. And we wanted to test their impacts on speed and safety, which is what the bulk of this presentation will be about. Several lessons learned, maintenance considerations. Found out that they really are not that resilient. In 2 of the locations, the speed cushions were removed before the winter weather started. In 2 of the locations, they were kept in. One of those locations, they were completely destroyed during snow operations. One of the locations, they were damaged. We were able to repair it, but it's not a sustainable solution to speed. These modular cushions are not a sustainable solution. And the other lesson learned is you can see in this photo, there is a bike lane just to the left of that truck, and people were using it to go around the speed cushions. Even with that, we'll get into more detail about this was very successful at slowing cars, but if speed cushions are installed, this is a lesson we learned. There needs to be something to prevent people from going around. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Swami. Go into more
Thank
detail.
you, Shane. Yes, thank you, Shane. Yes, so I'll walk you through with our approach for evaluating this modular speed cushion and the warning sign along with it. And we'll see how it changes the behavior primarily for vehicle drivers and pedestrians. So we are trying to address four main questions here. One is the traffic volume holding steady after we implement this to make sure people are not avoiding this route? And are the speeds changing? And then are the pedestrians in the particular area crossing in a different way? And then is there a measure where we can find out is what are the realities about the vehicle pedestrian conflicts? This is the pilot site of MD 195, Carroll Avenue. And you can see in the north side, there is a crosswalk that is existing before we implemented this speed cushion. And you can see in the middle, there is a little green flag. That is the place where we placed our portable LiDAR to capture all the activity in that area. And just towards the south of the green flag, we have the speed cushion, which was installed temporarily. If we look at the major numbers from here, it's we observed a study for 54 days in three different stages. In the vicinity of this particular site, on the right-hand side, there are residential houses, and on the left-hand side, we have three different complexes which were related to some school campuses, but that Carroll Avenue is not the major approach from where they access it, but still it's considered a school adjacent corridor with Tacoma Academy 9 to 12 and Tacoma Prep Academy and the Tacoma Baseball Academy, which fall on the left-hand side of this. The directional split was approximately 50-50, and the passenger vehicle share amongst all the other vehicles and all the modes that we recorded, the passenger vehicles were the most prominent vehicles at 94 to 95%. We considered understanding why we can record this using our portable LiDAR. The one that we used for this site is on the top left. You can see a trailer mounted portable LiDAR. And we also have another one available with us, which is on the right hand side, which is even more compact version and doesn't need a trailer. This helps us understand the speed trajectories and the vehicle and pedestrian paths. We can do some kind of zone redeployment, change the zoning, and then compare the data within different zones. It collects the data for all modes of transportation 24/7, weatherproof, and uses a solar device for gaining energy as well. And the portable LiDAR is the most rapid deployment device we have because we can just simply go to the site and implement it. But for sites which do not have wider medians or positioning of extra space, then we go for the right portable LiDAR option. Otherwise, in this particular case, the one with the trailer was being able to install because we had space on the median. So the treatment that we gave here was the modular rubber-based speed cushion, or the standard speed cushion, which is compliant with MUTCD. And we decided to see how it fares. As you can see in this photograph as well, Shane has already mentioned, there is a space on the side of the speed cushion, and most vehicles traverse it by maneuvering their vehicles over the bicycle space to avoid the speed cushion. And there was an advanced signage about the speed bump before the speed cushion. So this was the study design. We had the site selected. We had our equipment kit with a portable LiDAR, our edge computing device, solar powered, and the treatment that was there. And we split this entire operation into 54 days and then different stages. First stage was the baseline stage when the speed cushion was not there. And then we tried to look at the quick build activation stage. Stage 2 and stage 3 are the quick build activation and the long-term follow-up after that. And stage 4 was the downstream, 220 feet downstream from the installation place of the speed cushion. And we tried to understand how the volume, speed, pedestrian behavior, and the safety in terms of near misses and conflicts are coming out from this study. So let's go at the results of each one of these one by one. What we expected was some kind of speed drops, but not something that will increase the pedestrian volumes in that area. But the results uh, were very different from what we initially expected. So the good thing is that the traffic volumes were maintained at a stable level at 10,282 ADT across the 54 days. And you can see here in the right, there's a split of all different modes. And as I mentioned earlier, the major share goes for the passenger vehicles. We were able to record trucks and buses and two-wheelers, not being able to, as a limitation, uh, check the difference between bicycles and motorbikes. So they were taken as one category. The ADT values for our stage 1 baseline, stage 2 activation, and stage 3 long-term evaluation after a few days were pretty much stable. In the third, there was a slight drop because of the holiday season. But when we come at the speed understanding of how much speeds were dropping, I would like to point out at this figure that is visible on this page. The posted speed was 30 miles per hour, and we were able to see northbound and southbound directional speed, a speed of around 26 to 28 miles per hour for all the vehicles. And when we look at the speeds after the quick build activation, you will see this particular peak, which is very close to 30 mph in these two diagrams, will move further left and the speeds will drop drastically. As you can see, the bigger drop here in the northbound vehicles, we saw a drop of 9.9 miles per hour on an average, and for the southbound cars, a 7.7 miles per hour dropping of the speed. For all these vehicles that we had the data collected for 54 days, we did a couple of statistical testing to make sure these speed drops are not happening by chance with our data, and they are vetted with the statistical evaluations. And apart from these statistical tests, we also tried to see how long these speed drops lasted. So when we look at stage 2, stage 3, stage 2, which is just the quick build activation, we wanted to also see how much it sustains in the long term after a few days. So even when we try to see during the stage 3, this sustained drop in the speeds was still doing good, and the speeds were maintaining themselves at a reduced level from the initial 26 and 28 miles per hour of speed which we observed in the baseline. We can also see the downstream spatial decay of the speeds in this particular diagram. As you can see, we decided to evaluate the speed drops exactly at the location of the cushion, and then 100 feet past the location of the cushion, and then 220 feet past in the direction in the location of the cushion, from the location of the cushion in northbound and southbound both directions. So we also saw that once the speeds dropped initially, they picked up after traveling a distance of 100 feet, and they pretty much maintained themselves along similar levels at the 220 feet. So the sustaination was not only temporally, but the sustaining of the speed also maintained themselves in a spatial way from an offset distance from the place where the speed cushion was placed. We also tried to see what are the pedestrian crossing patterns in particular zone where this speed cushion and LiDAR was placed. You can see in these three aerial visuals the hotspots for where the pedestrian activities were at the max, and we can see significant people crossing from using the crosswalk, and but we also see a lot of anomalies and outliers where people are not using the crosswalk and still crossing the roads based on these heat maps. From the crosswalk zone context, we tried to combine the speed and exposure together. We tried to see how much is the effect of the reduction of vehicular speed, and then vis-a-vis compared to the pedestrian exposure values for per day averages. So as you can see in this diagram, the pedestrians volumes increased to almost by 140% or 2.4x from stage 1 to stage 3, while the speeds were for vehicles were getting dropped. So the moment the speeds of the vehicles started going towards reduced speed values, the pedestrians started feeling more safer and the pedestrian volumes increased. It may have some attribution to the fact that stage 3 was also coinciding with the holiday time, but it also is coinciding with the fact that during the holiday time the schools are shut, so it doesn't count the people who are um, interacting with those school campuses. So the pedestrian volume jump here, along with the speed drop, is a very significant result for this particular quick build installation. And we also tried to evaluate post encroachment time, which is a research grade measure, not frequently used with government offices like DOTs. We try to see how much near miss events happen there, and if it's less than 3 seconds, we typically call it a critical conflict situation. And if it's between 3 to 5 seconds, is a moderate conflict. And then if it's above 5 seconds, when a vehicle and a pedestrian come close to each other, then there is no significant concern for the interaction. So that PET time that we calculated for the vicinity of this geofenced area, it was a drop of 63% from stage 1 to stage 3. So, which is again a very significant result, that the near misses and the conflict situations also reduced drastically. This was the site geometry, and the slight difference that you see on all these values for the northbound and southbound also attribute to the fact that a person going northbound experiences the speed cushion first and then the crosswalk, and someone coming southbound experiences the crosswalk first and then the speed cushion. So if we also look at the average speed at the speed cushion adjacent zones by stage, like if we look at from stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 put together for northbound and southbound, then stage 3 was evaluated only for the long term part. So you can again see in the northbound 9.5 miles per hour of reduced speed sustained from stage 1 to stage 3 at the cushion, and again sustained speed loss at 100 feet, and then the speed at the 220 feet was also very close to just maybe a 1 mile per hour above the 100 feet recorded speed, from 15.93 mph to 16.45 mph. So this is like the stage wise comparison. Same trends you can see in the southbound. The speeds reduced for 6.8 miles per hour, and they sustained, and similarly followed up for offset of 100 feet and 220 feet from the speed cushion. So speed reduction is one of the key outcomes. The fact that it was not only a temporarily localized effect, and it also sustained at a distance for 220 feet, and also during the tenure of up to 10 weeks of long-term temporal and spatial both. And then we also were very happy to see pedestrian volumes increase and the PET conflict rates falling down by 63%. So what we conclude is, having these kind of evaluations on sites of quick builds and other non-motorized transport or complete street initiatives, these kind of before and after data analysis can really help build up a case and evidence for smaller communities to either get funds, or even as within the SHA and MDOT system, to understand the effects of these particular measures. So the major outputs direct us in a way that this particular evaluation is repeatable, and we can conduct it at several other sites and look at the feasibility of any particular measure that has been implemented. So with this, I would like to also mention some of the limitations and caveats of this study. We had a December timing, which was coinciding with the holiday travel, so they do not represent typical school zone or school adjacent zone traffic. And the PET counts were very small, so it was just kept as a screening tool here. We did this evaluation for MD 195 only, so it may vary in a different geometry or in a different corridor type. We would like to see more sites with MDOT in future to see the effect of this in different sites. This treatment is only effective at the cushion until the 220 and the 100 feet downstream. So maybe if we want to look at the effect even further from there, the portable LiDAR only goes up to a range of 300 feet. So not effective for some kind of result and outcome if we want to see 500 feet or 1,000 feet down the particular speed implementation, traffic calming implementation. And we did not measure any equipment or deployment hours or labor. So if we want to do a cost benefit analysis of this kind of evaluation, maybe we need more details. That's all from the understanding of the outputs, the results, and the limitations of this project. I would be open to answer any questions if you may have.
Hearing no questions, we'd like to thank you guys for your presentation. All right.
Oh, I just wanted to say really
Oh.
quickly, that was really interesting. I haven't seen that kind of research done with LiDAR, and just seeing how you could look at the conflict areas. I thought that was a really fascinating, interesting way to look at safety that you really can't get without kind of that observation level. So thank you so much. That was really, really interesting. I'm looking forward to the research paper being published.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you again. All right. Our next presentation will be by Meg Young from MDOT TSO on micromobility safety policy and education.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me back again today to talk about micromobility. And let me also say, great presentation to Dr. Swamy. I didn't have any questions just because I've already had the opportunity to ask so many questions and seeing how this project has developed. But the powers of LiDAR are very cool. And I appreciate the experts at the Transportation Center who can actually like dive in and analyze all of the data. So we're also very fortunate to have another Morgan State University intern who just started in our office who's on here today. So welcome, Ridwan, to your first BMC meeting. But to get to my topic, I'm here today to give an update about micromobility in Maryland and MDOT safety projects. And when putting this PowerPoint together, I started off with the one that I did in January for BPAG, and I'm really happy to say that there are so many updates since I last presented to you all. So today I'll talk about kind of on the ground in Maryland, how we're going about governing devices and shared fleets versus personally owned vehicles, the data that we have now analyzed of crashes, mostly ridership is a little bit more unknown, and then some updates of our safety outreach campaign. And so what you see on your screen right now to the right of the agenda is one of our first publications we made about micromobility. This is on the MDOT website at mdot.maryland.gov/micromobility. And it's a real overview of what micromobility is, because we realized, the term is kind of used interchangeably sometimes, and really helping people, whether it's law enforcement, legislators, like understand what micromobility is and all of the different vehicles that fall under micromobility. So that is a PDF that's on our website. The backside of it includes this table, which is very confusing and kind of exemplifies the fact that right now in Maryland, regulations for micromobility are a little confusing, and there's a lot of different categories defined by top speed or the power of the motor. And it's something that Maryland, along with other states, is looking at closely to see if there's a way that we can simplify our transportation code to quite simply like make this easier to understand for both consumers and anybody who is enforcing the law. And so this table, while complicated, it is really meant for local partners, law enforcement, and advocates to understand the current state of things. And again, knowing that we would like to make this more simple and easy for people to understand moving forward. And so the other thing that our website now goes into detail about is how we govern micromobility and where this falls in terms of the transportation landscape. Like most transportation projects, it affects everybody, and it has to be a joint effort, especially when thinking about safety between not only MDOT or local jurisdictions that design roadways, but also people in terms of safe behaviors and law enforcement in terms of enforcing those behaviors and helping us identify where there are safety issues, collecting data from crash reports and even first responders. So in terms of micromobility, we at the state level defined vehicles and the rules of the road. It's in our transportation article. And so we at TSO work with the legislature and work with our MBA in terms of vehicle standards. We set the standards for roadway design for state highways and transit facilities. And then, of course, we work with local jurisdictions in terms of education and riding safely. But local jurisdictions are very much our partners when it comes to micromobility. They're the ones that permit shared fleets. So in the Baltimore region, we have the dockless vehicle program in Baltimore with Lime and Spin. Annapolis has had their program. They had bird scooters on the ground for a while and are looking for a new vendor. They also set the standards for roadway designs on local roads, and then they are the ones much closer to on the ground and who can disseminate information about vehicle safety. So it's really a joint effort, and that is kind of an underlying trend you'll see with what we've been working on at MDOT. So with it being a joint approach, I want to underscore with trying to improve safety for micromobility that we want to take the safe systems approach from safe vehicles, safe speeds, safe roads, of course, safe people operating vehicles, and then safe post-crash care. So hopefully you'll see this woven into some of the products that I'll share today. So when we kicked off our micromobility safety project, one of the first things we did is establish a working group. Our advisory group is a multidisciplinary group, including representatives from BMC, who's hosting us today, as well as WashCog, local jurisdictions, law enforcement, as well as people who work in public health and crash data experts. And so since we kicked off in March, we've discussed a number of things. We started with identifying the most pressing safety topics for micromobility. We started outlining outreach materials. In May, we looked at those drafts and talked about what's the most important messages to get across. And then more recently, we've been looking into a legislative debrief from our past session, as well as what other states have done in the past 2 years in terms of updating their code to encourage safer vehicles and safer behaviors on micromobility. If you are interested in participating in this advisory group, we're meeting next on August 3rd, and then we will report out on August 17th to the pedestrian and bicycle emphasis area team on August 17th. So our advisory group, one of the first things we did was looking at micromobility trends in Maryland. So first off is ridership, I'll touch on first, and then crash data as well. So in terms of micromobility trends in Maryland, we've had 10 jurisdictions who have had shared micromobility programs. As I mentioned, like the dockless vehicle program in Baltimore, and big props to Tyler from BC DOT and all of those program managers, because with the bike and scooter shares over the years, there's been a lot of progress towards integrating those programs into the transportation landscape. Whereas at first there was a lot of pushback for all of a sudden seeing scooters on the roads. Now everybody sees the importance of these e-micromobility vehicles on our roadways. In 2025, Baltimore set ridership records, as did the Capital Bike Share program down in the DC region. And in addition to just knowing the ridership that happens, we can see a lot about where vehicles are ridden and who's riding them. So the data has shown increased ridership in underserved areas, and then increased subscriptions to low-income access plans. On the right-hand side of your screen is a map that most of you have probably seen before, but this is dockless vehicle ridership in Baltimore, and this map is the ridership in 2019. I'll click, and then we'll see 2025. And the change there is that the darkest lines, where there's the most ridership, used to really just show Baltimore's what we call the white L, the wealthiest parts of the city. And then thanks to the work of people like Tyler managing the permit, we can see that ridership has really spread out across the city and that more people are using the system. So in a lot of ways, these shared micromobility programs are doing a really good job of serving their purpose, and we can ensure through permits a lot of safety requirements for these vehicles. We know that they are legal e-bikes. We know that there are trained mechanics who touch these vehicles at a certain frequency, and if they don't, then the local jurisdictions are going to fine them. Tyler is one of the best out there at doing vehicle inspections and making sure that when they go out and test random vehicles, it's a fair process for the vendors, but also ensuring that the vehicles are safe. So that is one side of micromobility and has actually become, I think, is running a lot smoother these days than when it first launched, and then is drastically different than what we're seeing with private vehicles. Across Maryland, we have seen, and across the entire United States, a tremendous growth in private vehicle ownership. So e-bikes and e-scooters that people buy, hopefully from a bike shop, but often online. And so we don't have the numbers for how many of these vehicles have been sold to people, residents of Maryland. We don't know how many miles are traveled on these. There's a lot more unknowns for these personally owned vehicles. What we do know from doing counts around the state, having different jurisdictions do counts and interviews, and tapping into that information, is that there have been high adoption rates from young people. I've heard that that is every parent's favorite thing to buy their student heading off to college is an e-scooter or an e-bike. We've seen an uptick in ownership from older adults who maybe used to ride but don't want to make that trip on an analog bike anymore. They want that e-assist. And then we've also seen a huge uptick from delivery workers who are out there delivering meals, delivering whatever it is from DoorDash, Grubhub, and using these e-bikes to make their trips more efficient. So it's this second group that we are really trying to dive into right now at MDOT with our safety campaigns and make sure that private vehicles are legal e-bikes or e-scooters, that they are safely maintained, and that people are riding safely on them. It's a little bit harder to reach, though, than a permit program where we have easy access to people who have rented vehicles through an app. So, a quick pop quiz. If you're buying an e-bike, and we know there's a lot of illegal e-bikes out there, these are two vehicles that are sold online, advertised as e-bikes. One of these is road legal, and one of them is not. And they both say they have a top speed of 20. They list their motor wattage, and they both advertise safety. They say, I've got a battery certification for this vehicle, but the one on the left, which actually looks more like a motorcycle, is a Class 2 e-bike. And they say that in the advertisement online. And they note that there are restrictions in the state of California for this bike for several reasons. And so this is a legal Class 2 e-bike in Maryland. It's allowed on most roadways, and it's prohibited on many trails. But you should always check the rules of a park before you go. On the right, got a cute kid on the back. We've got groceries. It looks more like just a regular bike. But the motor is 2.5 times more powerful than an e-bike. And because it's more powerful, even though the top speed is 20, if you dive into the listing, it mentions how you could take off that setting and travel faster. Because of that, it is not an illegal e-bike in Maryland. It would require probably a title, a license, a registration, and insurance to be registered as something like a moped. So this is the issue with what consumers are dealing with when trying to ride an e-bike, is that many things are being sold falsely advertised and are not actually legal vehicles. So this is, again, just part of the context of what's happening on the ground, is that we're seeing more and more illegal vehicles, micromobility vehicles, being advertised as legal. So, knowing that this is the case, the next thing that our safety advisory group did was look at crash data. Crash data is filed when there are crashes involving motor vehicles in the state of Maryland. So this is only crashes involving a car along with micromobility. But in 2024, they updated the crash fields to have more information. And so we have a lot more information about crashes involving e-bikes and e-scooters. So with this 2 years of data we now have access to, our group looked at crashes per vehicle type, who's involved, crash patterns, and risky behaviors. And this was all to inform a safety campaign to know what are the safety issues, how severe are they, who should we target with information, what engineering countermeasures might we want to look into, and then how can we have targeted messaging about risky behavior. Try to go through these quickly. But crashes per vehicle type, in the 2 years of data we have, there were 2,337 crashes involving micromobility users. If we look at the non-motorist type towards the right, very happy to say in the state of Maryland, pedestrian crashes are down. So this black portion of these bar graphs, pedestrians have gone down. Non-electric crashes have also gone down, but it is electric micromobility where we are seeing an increase in crashes. And our thought is many of these are happening from vehicles that are not actually legal electric micromobility. We can look at crash rates by jurisdiction. And when we look at all non-motorists, so that includes pedestrians, we can really see the counties with the highest rates are largely the more metropolitan areas. Here is Baltimore City, of course, showing up. And then we also have some outliers like Worcester County, where Ocean City is located, and we have a lot of tourism. Can also break down electric micromobility now and non-electric micromobility. And once again, the Baltimore region is showing up quite strongly. Baltimore City is showing up high with high crash rates. Looking at the percent change from 2024 to 2025, again, this shows, similar to that first bar graph, that electric micromobility is where we're seeing all of the majority of the increases compared to other non-motorists. So overall, in Baltimore and the surrounding counties, it was mostly a drop in non-motorist crashes, but we know that's not the case for electric micromobility. When we look at who is involved in crashes for non-motorists, including pedestrians, males make up the majority or higher percentage of crashes in every age group. But when we look at micromobility, that trend is really magnified, especially electric micromobility. It is men who are very overrepresented in crashes. And for electric micromobility, it is these age groups 10 to 19, 20 to 29, where we're seeing the most crashes. And so knowing this, we've been working on outreach that specifically is going to target young men who are potentially involved with crashes. This is a slide that I didn't fully edit. I apologize about that. This should not be on here. We broke down crashes by context zone in addition to just zip codes, and looked at how our engineers approach designing roadways to see if there are different land use contexts that really lead to more crashes. Of course, urban centers are very highly represented, but overrepresented are also suburban activity centers. So these areas right outside the city are very much overrepresented in collisions compared to their land area and population. So that was a little bit of an outlier, whereas we expect more conflicts in really urban areas, suburban town centers, and suburban areas definitely have more crashes, a higher percentage of crashes than the percentage of population. So they're overrepresented. With this new data, we can also look at the crash hours and locations. I think it won't be a surprise to anybody who works in transportation that the most dangerous locations tend to be at intersections. So at the crosswalk, at another part of the intersection, at an unmarked crosswalk, show up again and again as places where crashes occur. Day and time for non-motorists and for electric micromobility. This very much reflects what we see in other modes of transportation. The most crashes occur during rush hour. So it's not that people are out on e-micromobility, on e-scooters, coming home from the bar and crashing necessarily, which some people thought we were going to see in the crash data. But in reality, it is the after work and after school rush hour that shows up for e-micromobility, just like any other mode. And so this report is going through its last reviews right now, but the full report will be published soon, so you can dive into that data at a slower pace if you'd like. But the major takeaways that we found is that while crashes are falling for people walking, they're still rising for e-micromobility in particular. And we are struggling to contextualize this because we don't have that information about ownership or ridership of personal vehicles. So that is still a missing piece of our puzzle. For who is involved, males are overrepresented, and it's alarming to see the number of crashes involving 10 to 19-year-olds in particular. The Eastern Shore is also surprisingly overrepresented in crashes. For crash patterns, suburban activity centers and urban areas are overrepresented in crashes. Intersections are the top conflict locations, followed by travel lanes that do not have bike facilities. Bike facility does provide safety, and it is where riders will choose to ride if it is there. And then the most crashes occur during afternoon rush hours. Risky behaviors, we found lower rates of impairment as a factor than with pedestrians or with motor vehicles. There's only 7 crashes involving impairments and micromobility in the crash reports. And then e-micromobility users have lower use of protected equipment than non-electric micromobility. So where are we going with this? Now that we have looked at what the situation is on the ground, we are working on an outreach plan to tackle the safety issues and make sure that we're getting information out to potential consumers, bike shops, and people who are overrepresented in those crashes. We came up with 4 major topics. What I have in bold here is what I have as like a preview to show you all. But the 4 topics are generally what is micromobility, it is e-vehicle maintenance, battery and fire safety, it's safe riding and best practices for e-vehicles, and then we'll be publishing that crash data as well as a summary of it. So from each of these 4 topics, we're developing a whole suite of materials, an overview of the topic, but then we're breaking it into bite-sized pieces for social media and graphics. So if you've ever worked with our highway safety office, they have different social media toolkits that you can download and provide you the graphics as well as the captions. We have heard that these are used by local jurisdictions and law enforcement, so we are following their model to provide these different social media topics and graphics. And then we'll have additional products that are more specific to different outreach plans for each of these topics. So I hope that these will be live on our website any day now. For the overall, what is micromobility? We have a pretty detailed micromobility brochure. We've gotten the feedback, it's a lot of text, but this is a topic that many people really do want to dive into, so we have opted to keep all of the text. This would be the front side of a trifold, and then the back has, again, a lot of information, but this is something that so many people have asked us for detailed information about that we did want to have something that had a lot in one place. So these are going to be trifolds that we will have on hand and print and try to make available to as many partners as we can. Knowing this is a lot of text, we do have these smaller bite-sized pieces. So there are still some edits that are going to happen to these graphics, but this is an example of smaller bite-sized information. So in terms of how can you tell if it's a legal e-bike or e-scooter, we have a couple different versions of this showing here's what makes a vehicle legal. We even have one that's like a decision tree sort of looking graphic where you can say, does my vehicle have this? Yes or no. Does it have this? Yes or no, and can help you identify if it's a legal vehicle. The stickers are also already a legal requirement for an e-bike. That's a law that's been in the transportation article for a couple of years now, that any e-bike should have a classification sticker and should have a certified battery, but we're finding a lot of people don't know that. So these are things that could be put onto something smaller than a trifold, a postcard, something to be handed out, something that can be distributed to the public. Another one of the topics is maintenance and battery safety. Again, this is the version with everything on it. So it is a lot from the types of e-bikes, how to identify it, battery safety, and maintenance tips. There are, again, some more once-off graphics, e-battery safety. This is something that we can give to bike shops, and then a social media graphic about speed governors and regulators. If you alter or tamper with your vehicle, it becomes illegal to be used on public roadways. And a lot of people don't know that. So our plan for all of this is to start distributing all of our products as soon as they're approved through our normal MDOT communication channels, our websites, e-blasts, sharing with government partners. Again, each of the topics has an associated social media graphic toolkit and other collateral that can be used by partners. But we are also doing some non-traditional outreach to our targeted distribution, our targeted populations, those that are overrepresented in crash data. So we'll be working with advocates, schools, at-risk populations, retailers, and then shared system operators as well. Retailers is bold here because I want to give you a little preview. For retailers, we've had another dedicated intern this summer who has poured through the DNR Outdoor Recreation Directory. And so we've updated the list of all known bike retailers across the state. She's reviewed all of their listings and the accuracy of the e-bikes that they list and advertise online. So we can say, you know, do they have all of the adequate information there? Do they identify what class of e-bike this is, so that if you're a parent and buying your kid a bike, you can see, is this something that the school will let them bring? If I plan on riding this on trails, will I be able to ride it? So we have a pretty long list of notes of many bike shops doing a great job, and then some selling legal vehicles, but maybe not providing all of that information up front. So our planned outreach, we have a cover letter that will be mailed to them, emails, some notes on their websites, as well as updated phone numbers. We have some safety checklists for employees, like the one you see here on the right, and then we'll equip them with some materials for distribution if they request, things like stickers and postcards for owners, so that if somebody buys an e-bike from them, they will get that postcard about, here's how I make sure I'm charging my battery safely. So that is one of the examples of outreach. The other ones we are working with, again, advocates, schools, at-risk populations. And I left out on here, we're working on a whole packet for law enforcement as well. So I think we probably have time for questions or comments. If anybody has any feedback, if you want to join the advisory group, please send me an email. This is my email on the screen, myoung7@mdot.maryland.gov. And then we'll be posting everything on this website, mdot.maryland.gov/micromobility.
And a
I
question
see
in the chat.
in the chat,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
So we do not know, we don't know about crashes that do not involve cars, trucks, and SUVs. The crash reports that we have are all crashes that involve a motor vehicle. Our crash data experts have been reaching out to some trauma centers and hospitals to see if we can find some sort of like proxy or some sort of information about the other cases they're seeing when it's a micromobility user that's in a crash that does not involve a car. But that is much harder to find. So right now, these are only crashes that involve cars. All right, and Antoine's going to join my group. Thanks, Antoine.
Any other questions for Meg? Well, there's a lot of really good information and timely for me personally, as we're trying to figure out how to manage electric bikes on our trails. You know, what we allow, what we don't allow, and once they're on there, what do you do if they're illegal? How do you get them off? So,
Right.
I took a couple pictures of your slides.
Okay. Yeah, the
So
Department
thank
of
you.
Natural Resources just did a big rulemaking as well for e-bikes on their trails, and they're only allowing class 1 e-bikes right now. They have said no class 2, which are the throttle only.
Okay.
And so you might look to them if they're unpaved trails for some examples.
Okay. Okay. Great. I appreciate that. And thank you for your presentation. It was very good. Very good. All right. And we'll go ahead and continue on. Our next presentation will be a bicycle helmet grant by Cindy Birch.
Great, thank you. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Cindy from BMC, and I've spoken about this project a couple times on past meetings or cross paths with a lot of you in other parts of our life. I just want to kind of give you an update. We have just kicked off a new grant with the Maryland Highway Safety Office, and I will call out Cynthia Spriggs, who's on the call as well. She's my grants manager over there. And but I'm just going to kind of run through those of you that were a part of this project in the last year. Nothing's really changed, just a few little things that I'll point out. But for everybody else, we are getting a grant through the Highway Safety Office. We have about $22,000 this year for FY27. And the idea is to provide bicycle helmets directly out to you to support outreach programs you have for riders of all ages. While it's required by law for the younger folks, we also want to encourage adults to wear the helmets, of course, and also promote safe practices. So we do have educational materials we can provide to you or give you links of things that you can print out and have for yourself in any regard you like. It is a region-wide approach coming through our MPO. If any of you have events or partners or friends outside of the Baltimore region, you can still send them to Cynthia Spriggs or me, and I'll pass them to her. We have a partner agency with WABA and Bike Maryland who are being able to provide bike helmets to those outside the Baltimore region. So it's essentially a statewide effort, but for our grant, we're sticking to our region. The basic plan is I do quarterly solicitations. I'll send out an email to the primary safety contacts I have in each of our jurisdictions and any other partners along the way, everybody that participated last year. If you didn't already get a message from me last week, I guess, please let me know. Shoot a message to me or Charlene or anyone, and I'll be sure to get you on the list. One thing that's different this year, we're setting our maximum request at 100 helmets. Last year, we were able to provide up to 150. Our funding shifted a little bit this year. So we want to max that out at 100, but you can order any number under that. If you only want 5 helmets, that's fine. Just let me know. We want to be able to get you these safety resources you need. Again, we're focused on events. So we do request that you send a date and, name of the event. That gives me a date and time to be able to get the shipment to you in time, so for logistics, it's helpful. But it also opens it up and lets us know, as well as the Highway Safety Office, and the different things you have going on out there, because maybe we have other resources and support we can provide for you. Of course, if you don't give out all of the helmets at the event as planned, you don't have to ship them back. We want you to be able to keep them and use them at subsequent safety events. So, something to keep in mind. These are shipped directly to you. So if you order 100 helmets, make sure you have enough room for the boxes that come in. And that's just something else to think about. And this is just a quick look at the form. So I just kind of ask for your basic information, contact information, so we can actually ship it right to you, the date and the type of event you're doing, and then how many you want per size. And there are some hints on there. I'm sorry, I didn't include it on the request form that says adult smalls tend to fit this age group or this size of a person's head. So you can try and estimate what sizes are best for you, because sometimes helmets aren't what you might think they are. When you see adult small, they're actually, even though it says adult, it's good for children. So things like that, there are some helpful hints. The big thing I want to push is that planning is critical. It does take some approvals and some ordering time to get to you. So we ask for these requests to come in at least 2 weeks prior to your event. You can plan out as far as you want. We have this grant through June 30th of next year, so you could put in a request now for next May. It'll put you in the queue and you'll get those helmets come May. We won't ship them early because we don't want you to have to store them either, but it will get you in the list for it. So you can plan ahead as much as you like. And then one other thing we have to evaluate. So you'll also hear from me after your event. Just as information we provide back to the state to follow up on our grant. Basically, how did the event go? Do you have any helmets left over? And do you have any plans for those for future events? So nothing too much, nothing too extensive for reporting. This is what that feedback form looks like. So how many of the helmets did you actually distribute? What's your plan, like I said? And then also, how many people did you interact with? Kind of like the size of the event. Any primary languages spoken by participants. This helps the Highway Safety Office adjust any of the development of their outreach materials, and really all of us to try to stay on the edge of things to be sure we're providing the resources needed for all of your outreach and support you. Oh, here's those tips and tricks. So it kind of says, just by the size, by inches or centimeters, or it approximately fits this age of a child or an adult, rough estimates. And then I'll also send you a couple of links about how to best fit or properly fit a helmet. Because remember, we want these to be safety outreach resources. We don't want them to be giveaways someone picks up and walks away with. We want you to be able to help make sure it's fit properly and folks understand the benefit and the need to wear the helmet every time they ride a bike. So we try to give you as much information and resources for you to be able to use at your event. If you would like someone to be on site with you to help fit the events, that's a request we can send around either through the Highway Safety Office or maybe through some of your local advocates to be able to be on site if possible, to give that extra level of education. Again, just to recap, so quarterly messages, my next one will be in October. So if you want something between now and then, like I said, feel free to reach out to Charlene, drop me a note in the chat before the end of the meeting, anything like that. I'll be sure you're on the list and I'll get you these request forms right away. One thing I do say, we all know May is busy with Bicycle Safety Month. So if we try and plan ahead for that, since that's also near the end of our grant year, we do our best here to budget wisely to make sure we have enough to support your events in May. And I think that's all I have. That's my contact information there if you want to reach out to me afterwards. Or like I said, I'll be here through the rest of the meeting if you want to drop anything in the chat. But thank you for your time today. I appreciate sharing this. And I don't know if Cynthia has anything else she wants to add about it, but last year was our pilot year and I think went really well. We got all of our jurisdictions, wide range of types of partners. It was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to this year.
Yeah, I did just want to chime in. Thank you so much, Cindy. Thanks to BMC for taking on this regional portion for the Baltimore metropolitan region. As she mentioned, WABA is partnered with Bike Maryland for the rest of the state. For those who did or may have received bike lights last year, BMC is not providing them this year. That is a request that will come directly through me. And we can decide whether or not it is something that is needed for the event that you have and the places in which you're going to provide them. Same thing with the educational materials. Majority of that comes from our office. If you're not able to print it yourself, let us know as soon as you can. Some of the stuff we have low in stock, and I'm trying to work on getting our stock rebuilt. But obviously, getting it out to different places that aren't necessarily, within our normal daily travels might be a little bit difficult too. But I just want to thank BMC and WABA for finding ways to make this pilot year work in FY26. And I'm very happy that we have them back in FY27 to continue providing this much needed safety information.
All right. Thank you both very much. We appreciate that. Moving right along, we'll go into our last presentation, Baltimore City Vision Zero Action Plan, and that will be presented by Shayna Rose.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So I'm going to share a presentation. Okay, can everyone see that?
Not yet.
Not seeing
No?
anything.
Oh, sorry. There you go. You should be able to see it now.
It's loading. Oh, there it is. Yep, looks good.
Great. All right. So I'm Shayna Rose. I am the Vision Zero planner here at Baltimore City Department of Transportation. And recently we completed our draft Vision Zero action plan. The action plan is available on our project website at streetsofbaltimore.com/Vision Zero, which you can look at either by typing that into your browser or by scanning this QR code. And so today I'm just here to go through all of our recommendations really, and talk about how we got there. So this is West Pratt Street. A few weeks ago, a 14-year-old hit a little girl on this road and she died. In the wake of this immense tragedy, there's been a lot of talk about youth crime. But what hasn't been talked about is that West Pratt Street is a known dangerous corridor. In the past 5 years, 2 other people have died and 10 other pedestrians have been hit on this stretch of street, close to where Jordan was killed. I'm a new mother myself, and I'm also the project manager of a corridor safety project for this exact location. So this was pretty hard hitting for me. If enforcement had existed along this street, and if our years in the making planned safety improvements had been in place by now, I don't know if the outcome would have been different, but there would have been at least 2 safety nets instead of none. 1 life lost on our street is too many, and in 2024, we lost 64. Baltimore City has a crisis of traffic fatalities, and for that to change, we need to change how we do things. So we are launching a new paradigm, the Vision Zero program, with a commitment to end traffic fatalities and serious injuries within 15 years by 2041. And so this action plan is our roadmap to get there. The philosophy of our action plan is built around what we call in the industry the safe systems approach. I'm sure many folks are familiar with that on this call. The idea is that humans make mistakes, but there should be multiple safeguards to prevent a mistake from becoming a tragedy. The safe systems approach is about creating and reinforcing protective layers. And I like representing the safe systems approach as Swiss cheese because it shows you that none of the individual strategies are perfect or complete on their own, i.e. they have holes, but when they're effectively combined, our citizens don't fall through the cracks. Our action plan philosophy also recognizes that pedestrians, bicycle riders, wheelchair users, and scooter riders are particularly vulnerable because they're not encased in a metal shell. While only 6% of all crashes in the past 5 years involved a person walking or biking, pedestrians and bicyclists made up 34% of serious injuries and 43% of fatalities. And in 2024, actually, pedestrians and bicyclists were half of our fatalities. Nationally, pedestrians are 14 times more likely to die on roads than drivers. Bicyclists are 3 times more likely to die than drivers. And in Baltimore, pedestrians are 25 times more likely to die on our roads, and bicyclists are 6 times more likely. So our version of the safe systems approach is specifically tailored to protecting people outside of cars. And as it turns out, when we protect our most vulnerable road users, we make conditions safe for everyone. So here is a quick recap of our planning process. We worked with a team of internal stakeholders to identify opportunities to improve policies and processes that would prioritize traffic safety measures in city government. We did several community surveys to learn about the ways in which traffic safety issues affect everyday lives here and the types of strategies people would like to see more of. We worked with what we called our Vision Zero Brain Trust, which was a team of local artists and creative individuals to brainstorm better engagement, communication, and programming strategies. And we tested a few. Of course, we analyzed our roadway system to identify patterns that could be the target of our focus. And over the course of our plan development, we held 11 in-person events and put out 3 surveys. Between our 3 community surveys, the 2024 Baltimore Area Survey in partnership with JHU 21st Century Cities, our near miss map, and the 2025 Vision Zero Traffic Safety Survey, we collected around 3,000 responses. Our partners for each of these efforts were Johns Hopkins, Morgan State, the University of Maryland, as well as our consultant team, Mead & Hunt, CityThread, and SCRD. So I'll talk very quickly about some of the analysis from our planning process before we get into recommendations. We have discovered, similar to other cities and jurisdictions, that serious crashes occur somewhat predictably. The majority of our fatal and serious crashes occur on a network of roads that encourage speed and throughput by design. And we call this network the High Injury Network, or HIN. The HIN consists of 3 tiers of severity, ranging from elevated risk to highly dangerous road. So focusing our safety strategies on the HIN will be central to our Vision Zero program. Additionally, from our Vision Zero traffic survey, we found that Baltimoreans want safer streets and are highly impacted by the current status quo. Most people live their day-to-day lives in fear that they'll get hit. Over half of our respondents know someone who has been injured in a crash, and 13% were injured themselves. And crucially, 25% of respondents consider moving out of Baltimore City because of their fear of our roads. And we're a city that's trying to grow our population, so that's a really concerning finding. And so now I'll get into our recommendations. The Vision Zero Action Plan lays out a slate of recommendations that we can use to build out a robust safety program in the specific context of our city. Our plan is built on 6 guiding principles. 1 is use a data-driven approach to prioritize interventions where they have the most impact. 2 is design high crash roads for safety over speed. Implement HIN projects quickly to prevent further harm. Expand awareness of Vision Zero project strategies and goals. Empower more people to walk, roll, and take public transit. And collaborate within and across public agencies and local organizations to institutionalize Vision Zero as city policy. We also categorized each of our recommendations into phases, with phase 1 being the recommendations that we'll focus on first. Each recommendation will also have metrics that we will use to measure our progress and hold ourselves accountable each year. So our guiding principle around using data emphasizes stewardship around our HIN, using the HIN to guide enforcement, and tracking the effects of our projects and policies. Right now, we use crashes to track our effectiveness at our projects, but crashes are a relatively small data set for individual locations, and so we have to use multiple years to see trends. If we use data sets with higher volumes, we can see the effects in more real time and can use that information to iterate our strategy for better results or expand what's working well. Design is a crucial part of our Vision Zero strategy. There is a reason that it is represented as the biggest slice in our Swiss cheese model. Nationally, design is shown to have the greatest effect on reducing crashes. The biggest thing that we need to work on is making redesigns of the HIN corridors a key aspect of DOT's capital program. This will involve creating internal policies and processes designed to elevate HIN corridors in our CIP selection process. Our recommendations in this section revolve around both creating pathways for the HIN to be prioritized in capital program and creating new design guidance, building upon the work that our Complete Streets Manual started. Our projects take too long. And as we've seen, long project timelines can have deadly consequences. So we know that we need to shrink our project timelines, particularly for HIN corridors where we know there is significantly elevated risk. We plan to roll out a new 311 policy that prioritizes the HIN and nearby locations. And then we're also going to experiment with new planning styles to get to design decisions faster and reduce administrative delays during projects by creating new types of contracts and review processes. We know that we need some kind of expansion of our collective awareness around traffic safety issues and the proven solutions that are so often misunderstood. We also know that typical education and awareness campaigns just don't typically result in reduction of crashes. So our recommendations rely on publicizing our programs as much as possible, creating transparency around what we're doing, and heavily relying on community partnerships, programming, storytelling, and place-based engagement. Other Vision Zero programs have also had success with restorative justice programs or programming that rehabilitates perpetrators of serious crashes to become safety advocates. And so this may be something that we explore as well. We also want to empower more people to get out of their cars more regularly. Scandinavian cities originated the Vision Zero concept, and they specifically targeted reducing VMTs and increasing walking, rolling, and transit. And they've had a lot of success with actually reducing their crashes. And additionally, a Fair and Peers study that looked at various programs throughout our country found that cities that have lower VMTs in their populace also tend to have lower serious crashes. So we know that a big part of empowering more multimodal transportation is building safe facilities, but we also want to support that work with programs that build culture around demystifying and normalizing these modes. And so this means organized walks and rides, expanding events like Charles Street Promenade, expanding our e-bike voucher program, and encouraging and facilitating more community-led projects that enhance the public realm. Our last principle is for our city and community leaders to collaborate on policy and projects that further safety goals. We are recommending the creation of a Vision Zero task force, possibly with community representatives, to carry out the recommendations of this plan and managed by a Vision Zero action team. We are also recommending new policies be created for other agencies, utilities, or developers that are proposing work along the HIN. Other cities enshrine Vision Zero as city law, and we are recommending the same to legitimize this effort and create accountability. We also recommend new shared engagement programs between DOT and other agencies that have goals related to Vision Zero, specifically city agencies such as health and the Department of Planning and the school system. And relatedly, we want to bring back Safety City as part of our robust new Safe Routes to School program. We also want to ensure that a base level of this work is funded by an established Vision Zero fund in the CIP dedicated to implementing quick builds on the HIN and other action plan recommendations. We also want to encourage city employees to contribute to this effort, not punitively, but through incentivizing professional development. Folks may not know this, but crash data for the previous year is not considered final until September of the following year. We want to work with BPD to get crash data closer to real time so we can implement more real-time solutions. And then finally, we want to track city employees who are speeding in city vehicles and figure out some kind of disincentive to prevent that from happening. So thank you very much for your time today. Again, we would really appreciate you reviewing our plan and giving us some feedback, and I'm happy to answer some questions.
All right.
And I put it in the chat, but I just wanted to say thank you to you for leading this Vision Zero effort, and that I got to see it on the ground last night at my neighborhood association meeting. I saw a real shift in the way that the project was shared, and having the new data about how different interventions have led to drops and crashes, I think was really impressive to people. And they mentioned even speeding up projects. So I've now seen it in action. Thank you.
I'm so happy to hear that.
All right. Anyone else with any comments or questions?
Shane, I just wanted to say real quick, I was actually speaking to Chris Correa from State Police this morning about some of his dashboards, and he's been developing some timeliness dashboards for crash report submission as well as supervisor approval and all of that. So maybe some of those dashboards can help you with that, and we can connect you or BPD with him, whatever, to use the data crunching to help you get towards, at least on the last slide. I know that was one of your metrics.
Yeah, we're, open to all opportunities for collaboration on that front. But of course, BPD needs to.
Sure.
And I think they are. I think they are. There's like promising new leadership over there that seems to be a lot more willing to come to the table.
Great to hear. Good luck. Thanks.
I know Eric had a question next.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate you and say Annapolis is about to start our own mobility action plan, Vision Zero plan, with Safe Streets for All funding, and definitely inspired by Baltimore's effort. So we'll probably reach out separately just to kind of chat more. But
yeah, absolutely. Happy to talk. And we also used Safe Streets for All funding for this.
All right. Hearing no other comments or questions, thank you again, Shayna. I appreciate that. All right. And then we'll go ahead and continue on with our agenda. And the next section we have is our roundtable discussion. So the city of Annapolis, you get to start us off with updates.
I was here late, so if Will, you're still on, you want to go first? You're on mute, I think.
Yeah, I was on mute. I'm sorry. Hello, everyone. Thank you for that, for all the information you just shared. A lot of it is very helpful. We are in the process of expanding our micromobility program in the city. We hope to be on the ground in the next couple months to ensure that we're able to catch some of our tourism traffic, but we're really looking forward to that. As Eric just said, we also are in the process of our shared mobility plan and some other pieces related to that. We continue to work on expanding and connecting our trail system. And we're also, of course, gearing up for some educational outreach in terms of safety and others. And, of course, we're very, very grateful for receiving helmets and literature involving safety. And there are other pieces happening. But thank you all. Eric, did you want to add anything?
We just have a range of active capital projects that have been in planning and design phase for many years, and several are actually coming to the construction phase right now. So I'm excited to say that our West East Express project is 2 segments along the former rail line, and the first segment, it went out to bid a couple weeks ago. So that was a big deal. The other one probably go out to bid later in the fall. And Hilltop Lane connector trail will probably go out to bid in early fall. And then we have our Bay Ridge Avenue Bikeway project, funded 30% design phase funded by MDOT. We recently went through a procurement process, and we have not selected a final consultant yet, but we're getting close on that. I think that's it.
All right, thank you very much. Next would be Baltimore City.
Nope, you skipped me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anne Arundel County.
I will be heard. I don't have a lot really to report on. I mean, we have a lot of grant requests out there we're waiting to hear back on. But we had a successful year with our safety, bicycle and pedestrian safety training. This year it was a week-long program that took over the PE classes. So we're hoping to continue the funding for that for next year. But my big news is we hired our Safe Routes to School coordinator. She begins tomorrow, officially. Yay, Meg. Her name is Kaylin Pack. She's a young, energetic woman who has some experience with Alta consulting firm working in Minneapolis and Minnesota, so on Safe Routes to School projects. So we're excited to have her come on, and she's going to be around a lot, so I'll bring her to the next meeting.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry for the oversight.
That's okay.
Next is now Baltimore City.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say, I'm sure a lot of people have already seen this, but our mayor and our director have agreed to implement 15 linear miles of all ages and abilities, multimodal lanes within the next 3 years. So I'll be definitely giving you guys a lot more updates in the future.
Hey, just piping in on the dockless vehicle side. Gonna need those miles because the people are riding these e-bikes and e-scooters. We saw a 33% increase over last year in the first 6 months of this year. So we are over 1.5 million rides already. I'm projecting about 4 million rides in the Baltimore City market.
Wow. All right, very good. Baltimore County. Go ahead and move on to Carroll County.
The only piece of news that we have is we were awarded $100,000 for the preliminary design up to 30% for a shared use path along Old Westminster Pike in the Finksburg area. So that was our transportation and land use connections grant application this year. So we were excited about that. And so was our planning commission and county council. And we're looking forward to a kickoff meeting for that project next week. So that's the only update I really have.
Okay, thank you. Hartford County.
Hi, this is Lena with Hartford County Planning and Zoning. Mostly we've been working to try to update our GIS layer to share with Charlene and Aaron for our existing and planned bike ped facilities within the county. And we've been starting the process and looking into grants and talking with some other staff in our department that help us secure grants to add some bike ped facilities throughout the Southern County Task Force area. And we'll also be attending a stakeholder meeting this afternoon for the Susquehanna Crossing project to look at some of the short-term, midterm, and long-term scenarios that they're proposing for getting bike ped access across the Susquehanna River. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Howard County. All right, not hearing anything. We'll move on to Queen Anne's County, and that is me. We're continuing to move forward with design and permitting phase of our phase 4 of the Kent Island South Trail extension. Unfortunately, we didn't get a build grant for the pedestrian overpass for the crossing of Route 5301. So now we have to figure out what our next strategy is. And then lastly, we're working with BMC to move forward with the next step of the Cross County Connector Trail from Graysonville to Queenstown. We jointly completed a feasibility study and hope to move forward with a 30% design in 26 and 27. Next would be MDE.
No updates at this time.
Okay. MDP.
Also no updates. Thank you.
All right. MTA.
No updates, thank you.
I think I skipped the Highway Safety Office.
It's okay. I figured you'd call us eventually. Thought I'd chime in. Cindy thankfully went over all of the helmet safety grants. But those of you who have driven around the Baltimore region or saw, we announced a new campaign, Slow the Fast Down. The first couple billboards went up on 95 the beginning of July, and we've got a couple more around. I think I saw all three of the first ones in like within 24 hours. They're very prominent on 95, but the campaign got a lot of approval, which was awesome from top down, because it's a little bit of a more kind of flashier, because when you see this billboard, you just kind of like, give it a quick second look. It's slow. The F is very big, but the AST in fast is kind of shattered and very lightly written. And then it says slowthefastdown.com. So anyway, that's our new one. Along with that, Speed will be coming out hopefully shortly with new live action. As you've all noticed, our campaigns have gone from the cartoon ones that were created during COVID to back to live action. Pedestrian and bicycle will be the last one on that list, but eventually. So that's why you saw the stuff that Meg had. We still have our figures from the cartoon features. But anyway, yeah, keep your eyes peeled for Slow the Fast Down, and hopefully we will see more people slowing down.
All right. Thank you. SHA.
No updates at this time. Thanks.
All right. And TSO.
Everyone, I'm about to press send into the chat, but a couple of links to share for updates. On the 31st, we'll have the Maryland Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and our new chair for the committee is here today, Antoine Wright. And so to celebrate that, our hybrid meeting will be hosted at TSO, but we're going to go ride the BWI Hiker Biker Trail. So if you need an excuse to go bike on the clock, you should definitely come to our meeting. August 13th, we'll have our next MDOT in Motion webinar, and it's Safe Routes Back to School. Really exciting to hear that one of our pilot counties, Anne Arundel, has hired their coordinator. So we'll be highlighting some of that work and how other counties can hire coordinators, because grant funding can pay for 80% of their salary. And then I put in there the State Highway Administration, if you missed it, did publish updated bicycle policy and design guidelines. And then if you just want to get all of this to your email, you can join our mailing list. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And lastly, BMC.
So the Patapsco Regional Greenway signage and wayfinding project has wrapped up. So we've got that finished. We'll share the finalized guidelines document with BPAG members, and then get that available on the BMC PRG webpage soon. We're have developed the draft operations and maintenance guidelines document for the PRG, and have been working with stakeholders and our steering committee to kind of do some final edits on that. So that should be wrapping up in the coming months. We completed the TLC project for the Baltimore Greenway Trail Network guide. We're just doing final review, but maybe just some minor edits, and we'll be complete with that, which is really exciting. And then we're kicking off personally the TLC projects for this new round. So we have Turkey Point Road, Ted Bike Path in Baltimore County, the Hanover Street Big Jump in Baltimore City, and the Westminster Pike Project in Carroll County. So all the people who applied were awarded funding for the TLC program. And we'll be hopefully running that program again next year. So we'd love to see more people apply. And then Miriam, do you have any updates on your projects?
No updates on Chaska Regional Greenway, Cherry Hill, or Henryton Road right now. For Cherry Hill, we're still working on wrapping up 30% design, and for Henryton Road, we're also working on developing our strategy for our alternatives.
Cindy, you have a question or a comment?
I just wanted to add from BMC, I think everybody's aware of our Look Alive campaign with Signal Women. Our RFP period closed about 30 minutes ago, so we have proposals for review. So hopefully by the next meeting, maybe not a formal presentation, but at least a little update on who our consultant should be for the coming years.
Okay, great. Last thing, does anybody else have any business that should come before that?
Just a few reminders. I sent out an email last week to BPAG members with a short poll, just getting feedback from you guys on the ways that we can best support implementation of the Bikeable Baltimore Region Network, and then other ways we can improve our BPAG meeting. So it's kind of asking what activities might be useful, what areas you'd like us to focus on, what could potentially be focus areas for the next UPWP program. I'll resend that out after this meeting, but we'd love to get your feedback so we can make sure we're making, our efforts as useful as possible. And just want to also remind people that we have the Baltimore Region Active Transportation Count Program. So if you have locations where you'd like to have active transportation counts done, reach out to me and we can look at if that would work. Let's see. Also, yesterday I attended a full day training that MWCOG hosted for the ProAg and AASHTO guides, and that was really interesting. They're going to share those presentations on their website in the future, so when they do, I'll go ahead and share that information as well. It was very informative. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. The last thing I have is just remember our next meeting is Wednesday, September 16th. And hope everybody has an enjoyable summer. So thank you very much.